All right, good, I hate to say wintry evening, but it is unfortunately winter back out there in Minnesota. This is the February 18th, 2026 Cottage Grove Council meeting, which I'm calling to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, if you please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, will our clerk please do the roll?
Councilmember Clausen.
Here.
Councilmember Olson.
Here.
Councilmember Thiede.
Here.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Mayor Bailey.
Here. All right, thanks, everyone. Next on our agenda is open forum. This is the opportunity for anybody who wants to speak on anything that's not on tonight's agenda is welcome to do so. We did have a sign-up sheet out in the entryway, and we did have, I think it's a couple, right? that have signed up, and Philip and Tilia, if you just want to head up to the podium and just state your name and address for the record, and it looks like your topic is about data centers. And I couldn't tell, is your last name Winter?
Winkles.
Winkles, okay.
Well, my first question is there a data center planned for Cottage Grove?
Okay, at the moment, I can say that I'm not aware of an actual data center being planned in Cottage Grove.
Oh, okay. Well, then my statistics don't mean anything if it's,
We're just
Well,
concerned
you can-
because of the amount of water and electricity
feel
they
free.
use.
You can share, though.
Feel free
You-
to share.
Feel free to share.
it does use over 400 million gallons of water per year, equals that for 1,000 households. The electricity use is 400% or 4% of the total electrical grid, which equals 10,000 homes.
100,000.
100,000 homes a year. The bills for us would double, and I don't like that. We're on a fixed income. Plus the unknown climate impact that the heat gives off. It's constant noise. We need to put a pause on data centers until we have more information available and how they impact the environment. So that was so I'm glad we're not having one.
Well, and what I'll share with you is that there's nothing that we have been said, or no one's shown up to say, hey, I'm going to build one or come in
Because
it.
they got one going for Invergrove Heights, and now the public has been notified about it, and so there's an uproar. So I wanted to get it before that happens, so.
Okay,
Thank you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, I'm assuming no one else in the audience wants to speak on open forum? All right, I will go ahead and close open forum, and we'll move to number 5, which is adoption of the agenda.
Move the agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Thiede. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Garza. I'll do that, since you're going to do the other.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Next is presentations this evening, which is 6. We have one, which is the proclamation for February 18th, 2026 as the Tibetan New Year. And I did ask Councilmember Clausen to read the proclamation, then after it's done, I'll ask for a motion in a second. So kick it off to you.
Thank you, Mayor. The proclamation is as follows. Whereas on February 18th, 2026, the Tibetan community and friends of Tibetan culture worldwide welcome the Tibetan New Year 2153, the year of the fire horse. And whereas the term Losar means from the Tibetan word lo, meaning year, and sar, meaning new, representing a sacred period of reflection, purification, and the renewal of hope for the coming year. And whereas Minnesota is home to one of the largest and most vibrant Tibetan American populations in the United States, with more than 6,000 residents contributing to the rich cultural fabric of our state and region. And whereas the Tibetan American Foundation of Minnesota serves as a vital local steward of these ancient cultural and spiritual traditions, fostering a spirit of compassion and nonviolence within our community. And whereas this coincides with global celebrations of the Year of Compassion, an initiative dedicated to honoring a legacy of universal humanitarian values and the preservation of distinct cultural identities. And now therefore, the mayor and city council of the city of Cottage Grove, county of Washington, state of Minnesota hereby proclaim February 18th, 2026 as Tibetan New Year, Losar. And Mayor, with that, I would move we accept this proclamation.
Fantastic. So we have a motion by Councilmember Clausen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Olson. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Councilmember Clausen. All right, I will now move to consent, which is number 7. Is there anything council would like to pull on consent?
C.
Councilmember Thede, you're going to pull C? Anybody else? All right, so then we'll move to Councilmember Thede. C is appointments to the Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Commission.
Yes, I'm the liaison to the Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Commission this year. And every February, we kind of have different terms that come up, and we need to either reinstate people if they have term left, or they have to, we have to find somebody new. So it turns out that this year, Samantha Crabtree, who has been on the commission, I think, for like 8 years, term limited out, and she's been a great asset on that commission, and I'm sure this won't be the last we see of her getting involved in the city. She's been involved in that. So we talked to a couple different people, and we came to a decision that Jordan Dibich, who should be appointed to the Parks, Recreation, Natural Resources Commission effective March 1st. So I'd appreciate if you guys would kind of take a look at that and approve that tonight with the consent calendar.
Fantastic. All right, sounds good. So with that, seeing nothing else was pulled for comment on the consent, I'll look for a motion to approve consent.
Approve consent, or motion to approve consent?
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Thede. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Garza. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So if anybody's watching or in the audience that's here for anything on tonight's consent agenda, all of those items have been approved. Number 8 is approved disbursement, which is 8A is to pay the bills.
I'll move to pay the bills.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Clausen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, was that you, Councilmember Olson?
That was me.
Yep. Second by Councilmember Olson. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're down to number 9 already, and we have one item, which is a public hearing. Is the Yellow Tree Development Site Plan Review, Planned Unit Development, Preliminary and Final Plat, and Tax Abatement. And so I know we have a couple different people that are going to be presenting on this topic, but we'll start with Sam Parrott, who's our planner, senior planner with the City of Cottage Grove. I know Nate Carlson, who is our economic development manager, is going to be up here a little bit later. And then I also believe we have Shane Rudlin, from Ellers that's going to be sharing some information. So we'll kick it off to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. This evening, I am presenting, along with my esteemed colleagues, the Yellow Tree Development proposal for a site plan, planned unit development, preliminary and final plat, and tax abatement public hearing for an apartment building on Outlot D of the Everwood Edition and Outlot B of Frattallone's South Point Ridge. These are on East Point Douglas Road and are vacant parcels that are wooded with some steep grades there. Outlot B is currently owned by the City of Cottage Grove and is proposed to be purchased by the developer to facilitate access to their parcel and the development due to the steep grades and the restricted buildable area here. Outlot B does not currently have a conservation easement, unlike some other portions of the property as seen here. A conservation easement was established over outlots D and C of the Everwood Edition in 1997, and then that was amended in 2007 in response to a proposed development. No development, including grading, excavating, or structure construction, may occur on Outlot D above the 860 contour line, which is the area that is still in a conservation easement. A former farm road was also preserved as a trail easement and must remain a natural path with very limited grading and excavation allowed. The farm road connected East Point Douglas to what is now Aspen Cove, north of the parcel. And the farm road is part of the trail easement. The northerly 60% of that farm road is the portion that is still in conservation easement. The lower 40% of the original road is not in a conservation easement. The location of the road may be amended, or trail that is proposed may be amended as the city sees fit so long as an unpaved pedestrian connection is maintained to East Point Douglas Road. The conservation easement, the trail easement, and the grades of the property significantly reduce the buildable area on the site. The developer has had to design their building around these areas, including the grading that is allowed. The Land Trust, the Minnesota Land Trust has approved all proposed trail configuration and grading within that trail easement. Due to the site constraints, as I mentioned, the applicant has proposed to purchase Outlot B of Fratallone South Point Ridge. This would mean that these two pieces of land need to be combined, and since they're in two different plats, the land must be replatted to combine land that's in two different plats. The applicant has prepared the Everwood 6th edition and included the required drainage and utility easements for preliminary and final plat consideration this evening. So the property is currently zoned mixed use, where apartment buildings are a permitted use, and the property is also guided mixed use in our 2040 comprehensive plan. Permitted density in the mixed use district is 20 to 40 units per acre, and the proposed density of the apartment building would be 30.39 units per acre. As mentioned, the applicant has also requested a planned unit development, or PUD, with this request. The Planning Commission did discuss this at length at their December meeting, and the applicant has requested that PUD consideration, which is a zoning tool to allow flexibility in the city's zoning standards, where without using a variance in unique situations where unique circumstances exist. The proposal being located on the land with the existing conservation easement, trail easement, and the varying topography are all unique limitations to this property where the use of a PUD would be acceptable. Providing diverse housing opportunities while preserving these natural features also supports the use of the PUD, which is in conformance with the city's strategic plan, comprehensive plan, etc. The PUD is proposed for building height, building setbacks, parking ratios, and architectural materials. And I'll also note that the Roars apartment project, further down on East Point Douglas Road at the cul-de-sac, also was approved as a PUD in 2024. The applicant is proposing a 6-story apartment building with 4 levels of residential and 2 levels of covered parking. That planned unit development that I mentioned would allow the maximum height of the building to be 77 feet, where 55 feet is allowed by our zoning ordinance. As I discussed, the varying grades of the site would result in the front of the building being 77 feet tall at the tallest point. However, as you move around the back of the building, it will be built into the hillside. And so the height will actually be 45 feet from lowest adjacent grade to the top of the roof or the parapet. The structure setbacks are also proposed to be reduced via the PUD from 20 feet to 10 feet. This is acceptable given, again, the reduced buildable area on site, and the 10-foot setback will keep the structure out of all drainage and utility easements. The applicant has also proposed to provide the landscaping on site in compliance with the city code. Up to 40% of existing trees may be removed on site per code. However, given the extensive area in the conservation easement where trees are not allowed to be removed, a significant amount of trees will be preserved on the site. The applicant will also be responsible for thinning some overgrowth and brush on the city-owned parcel to the east along East Point Douglas Road, and the MnDOT parcel to the south on the corner of East Point Douglas Road. The developer must also maintain these properties to the back of the curb using sod and irrigation on the MnDOT parcel, But seed will be used on the city-owned parcel because it does serve as a stormwater feature and does also have some very interesting grades. So, architecture of the building is also a proposed use of the plan unit development. The developer has requested to use 61% Class 1 or 2 materials, where 65% is required by our ordinance. The applicant has ensured that the walls facing East Point Douglas will have that 65% or more Class 1 or 2 materials used, while other portions of the building, as you wrap around to the backside, would be closer to that 61%. This is again similar to the Roars build, which was approved for 61% of Class 1 or 2 materials in 2024. However, giving adherence to that 65% on the portions facing Highway 61. So this is very similar to that request as well. The plan unit development would also request a reduction in the number of parking spaces required on site. There are 298 spaces required, and the applicant has proposed 296 spaces. This would be split up between 38 surface parking stalls and 258 underground stalls on that two-tiered parking system. A fire truck turnaround area must be provided to accommodate fire truck turning on the paved surface on the west side of the building. To accommodate the truck turning, up to 2 spaces may be lost. And therefore, staff is comfortable with reducing the required parking down to 294 spaces for a parking ratio of 1.58 spaces per unit via the planned unit development. This would be comparable, again, I'll mention the Roars Apartments, which had 1.5 spaces per unit, and also the Legends Apartments, which had 1.2 spaces per unit. An existing unpaved natural trail currently exists on the property, connecting the sidewalk on East Point Douglas up to Aspen Cove. This is that former farm road that I mentioned earlier. As I mentioned, there is that existing trail easement that was established as part of the conservation easement that must stay in place undisturbed in a more natural state. However, the lower 40% of the farm road may be amended, and the applicant has proposed to route that behind the proposed building along the parking lot and then down on the west side over Outlot B to East Point Douglas Road. This has been found to be an acceptable pedestrian connection by staff and the land trust, as I mentioned, also reviewed this and gave their blessing. The applicant has also proposed a stairway connection over the city lot on the east side of the property for residents only to be able to access the trail on East Point Douglas Road. All right, and with that, I will bring up my counterpart, Ryan Burfine, the Public Works Director, to talk about some transportation information.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to talk about 2 different things, thinking about East Point Douglas Road, capacity of that, also touch on Hardwood Avenue capacity, and then look at some off-site pedestrian connectivity as well. So you can see on the screen currently around 1,100 trips per day on East Point Douglas Road. And looking at Roars, which is under construction, and Yellow Tree, that adds about another 1,500 trips per day. So we're looking at 2,600 trips per day on East Point Douglas Road, and the capacity is 5,000. So from an engineering perspective, we're comfortable with that because Yellow Tree is the last developable property on East Point Douglas Road. So this is really kind of the end of major traffic growth for this roadway. Certainly it's a contributor, right? I mean, that's a big change. It's a change in that traffic pattern, but it is within the design capacity. Also highlighted in yellow is the Hardwood East Point Douglas Road intersection. Thinking about, what impacts this development may have, certainly over time, right? We're going to continue to monitor this area for continuing traffic changes, but right now with Yellow Tree and Roars combined, looking at warrants for that intersection. Warrants are what would trigger like an always stop or a traffic signal if it's even greater. At this time, always stop, those are the lower warrants. Those are not met at this time with the traffic that we're anticipating. On the right, kind of thinking big picture, right? What are we looking at with Hardwood Avenue? That's a road that we continue to monitor. We put the signal in at Hardwood Court because we've seen continued traffic growth along that roadway. And it's kind of two different roadways. As you go north of East Point Douglas Road, it's a 2-lane arterial roadway. As you go south, it's a 4-lane arterial. So these numbers in yellow, the top number is the existing traffic counts. The bottom is the capacity. So thinking similar to East Point Douglas Road, both sections of road around 40% capacity. And then Yellow Tree and Roars will add to this, right? So it's definitely gonna, increase that traffic amount on Hardwood Avenue, no question, still within design capacities and still gonna continue to monitor that roadway as we continue to get development and redevelopment for any needs. So no additional improvements at this time recommended for Hardwood Avenue. The signal was the main one, and the signal did take into account this growth, right? So this project and then Roars were contributing factors to the need for that signal. We took those into account from the traffic perspective. Last thing is pedestrian connectivity. I'm at the Planning Commission. I know there was quite a bit of discussion about pedestrian connectivity and what does East Point Douglas Road look like. Thinking about these 4-lane sections, this picture on the left, that's where it's that 4-lane section, and they are a barrier to pedestrians. There's no question. We're trying to move traffic efficiently along this roadway. You can see in the middle at Harkness, there used to be a striped crosswalk. We did remove that when we put the signal in. The signal is where we got that blue star. We really wanted to try and encourage pedestrians to use that signalized intersection. That's the safe, protected crosswalk at this point. But certainly with the amount of apartments, you're gonna have a lot of pedestrians on East Point Douglas Road. So I think it's something we want to continue to look at. When we think about our Safe Streets and Roads for All, we have that grant that we're going to be implementing and doing a lot of pedestrian review throughout the city. And even looking at where I highlighted in yellow, there's that striped out median right now. Definitely some opportunities for improvement there, I think, for pedestrian access actually at this location. That could work quite well if we could do like a protected median or something like that. So I think there are some things just for the whole network, right? Not just for Yellow Tree, but for all the users and all the residents on East Point Douglas Road. There's probably some improvements that we could make here in the future at a relatively low cost. But we want to review that with our Safe Streets for All program because we want to look citywide. What's our biggest issue points, where's our biggest challenges for pedestrians to cross. So that's what I have from a transportation perspective. With that, I will turn it over to Nate.
Ask a quick question.
Oh, yeah, can you, Ryan, real quick, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Councilmember Garza.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for all the information. That was a lot, really, really good. Just a quick question on that intersection that's circled in yellow.
Yep.
Is there any plans as far as bike trails, like extra going all along the new area that's getting put in?
Yep, Councilmember Garza. So no new plans for additional bike trails right now. Currently, we do have bike trails on both sides of Hardwood Avenue. It does switch to a sidewalk when you go south of East Point. And being an arterial roadway, that's where we like to see those trails on both sides. So feeling good about that roadway. And then East Point Douglas Road has just the one sidewalk, but being more of a minor collector, that's pretty typical to see the one sidewalk on one side. So from a kind of global perspective, I think pretty comfortable with it, so no changes at this time.
So with the couple of new apartment units that are going in, you don't anticipate more need for expanding the bike trails down that way or anywhere?
Not at this time, Councilmember Garza. With 2 bike trails on Hardwood, there's really kind of maxed out at that point. And like I said, it is a sidewalk and not a bike trail on East Point, but that is pretty typical for a roadway like that, to not have more of that kind of higher speed bike trail on a cul-de-sac.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Thiede had a question too.
Seeing that we're talking about pedestrians
Yeah.
and where they're most likely to go, coming out of Yellow Tree and being that it's a market rate and so forth, and probably not necessarily a lot of older people, but we do know that and you kind of mentioned this in the narrative, but they're going to probably come across East Point Douglas and go right up into the like parking lot by Kohl's, or they're going to go right into Culver's and so forth. So I'm just wondering whether we should, I know you mentioned in there about the steepness of some of that and making it ADA and so forth, but I mean, people are going to be taking that route anyway, most likely. And I don't know, maybe we should kind of consider maybe doing something with that, but,
It's a good idea.
Yep. Yeah, Councilmember Thady, we can definitely take that in consideration. You're right, the grades were the biggest challenge. We did look at that, I believe, with Legends. The other item that's probably was a bigger concern, but we can definitely look at it, is Kohl's itself. You know, mostly that's on private property, so it would have to be owned by Kohl's and maintained by Kohl's and not the city. So just something we'd have to work with them if they would have interest in, you know, taking on that connection. Certainly for their customers, it would be a nice, quick access. You know, in the summertime, people probably walk up the hill, but in the winter, maybe more recent winters, but normally you're not getting up that hill. So that's something we can look at further.
and obviously, they may also walk up the drive there to the childcare center and to come across to get to a walkway on 80th Street, which ends a little soon right there at Culver's and so forth, which might be a way to, and then you get into an easement that the city could possibly, do something there, but,
Yep. No, and that's correct. If it was in like a public easement and that was the route that was determined, you know, then it is something the city could maintain for sure. So something we can look into further.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you,
I'll
Ryan.
turn it over to Nate.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Nate Carlson, I'm the Economic Development Manager. I'm also joined with my colleague Shane Redling of Ellers, and we'll be discussing tonight, presenting the application and review of tax abatement for the Yellow Tree project. So the question of what is tax abatement and why is it needed for this apartment project? I'd state it's similar to TIF. It captures the increment from an improvement on a site. But it only accounts for the city taxes. That's what we're contemplating this evening. The new taxes from the project will continue to flow to the county and schools. And with this tax abatement project, there are no affordable unit requirements, allowing more flexible use as opposed to a housing tax increment financing district. The reason for the application is due to the significant site constraints. Site constraints. It's not economically feasible for this project to move forward, but for the assistance. And our abatement review was conducted by our team at Ellers. The graph before you demonstrates what the total project cost is at this time, which is just over $45 million, or $45.6 million, with a per unit cost of $245,490. As for what the abatement terms are in the agreement, it's to finance, first of all, they have to finance and construct the project. These new taxes need to be paid. They need to prove up the total costs prior to us issuing the note. It's what we have determined as a look-back clause to right-size the note. Right now, it's situated where there's a $100,000 buffer. And if there's cost savings beyond $100,000, then there's a 50% reduction, or 50-cent reduction per dollar that's reduced. And it's situated as a 10-year note with step downs. To the right, there's a graph that shows the year-over-year reduction. It starts at 100% for the first 3 years, and then over the course of the next few years, it decreases by 5%, and then in year 8, it's down to 75%, and by year 10, following year 10, all taxes will be flowing back to the city. And the present value of the note currently is situated at $1.241 million. I'd invite my colleague Shane forward to discuss more of the returns of the project.
Thanks, Nate. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Shane Redlang with Ellers. We do the financial work for you guys related to these projects. You'll maybe recall we were before you in March of 2025 with a similar project. At that time, it was 160 units. Over the course of that roughly year between now and then, the development has gone up to 186 units. Included in your packet is a breakout of the mix between studios all the way up to 3 bedrooms. But the project has gotten bigger. The terms of the abatement that you heard back in March of 2025 are the same, although the abatement number has gone up because there is more units. there's more cost to the project. The finances are largely the same. That's why we kept the abatement structure and the step down the same as what you saw back in March of 2025. We've tweaked the look back a little bit in kind of developing that whole concept with the developer, given them a buffer, but also, again, it would right-size the abatement amount if the cost comes in lower. Whole concept there being they presented a cost today. If they save money in the project, then the abatement that would be committed in present value isn't needed in the amount that we committed today. So pretend they save, $1 million, obviously they didn't need the abatement amount that we're talking about today, for example. We generally don't anticipate that. Construction cost look-backs are usually not enacted, but they are a method that lots of cities use, especially in the metro, to manage abatement and TIF notes. So with that, yeah, we have the same recommendation as we had before, although again, the note amount is different because the costs and unit count are changed. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. I should state, Mayor, it's necessary for the council to hold a public hearing. It has been stated in the newspaper, it's been notified. And so prior to acting on the resolution, we do need to hold a public hearing.
Okay. So before we do that, let me just ask on council with our staff here, the different members. I know Ryan got asked while he was in the middle of his, but is there any questions at the moment that council has with staff or Ellers? No? Okay. All right, thank you. So then I guess what I'll do is I will go ahead and open the public hearing. If there's anybody that wants to speak on this item, is welcome to do so at this time. Anybody at all? All right, seeing none, I will then go ahead and close the public hearing. And council, you do have before you on the screen, there are 4 different resolutions. But yes, Councilmember Thiede.
One question.
Yeah,
And is anybody from Yellow Tree?
I believe they are. Yep. Would you like to speak?
I didn't see it in the packet anywhere. I was just curious, what is your estimate of costs for these different level of apartments? And actually, I wasn't sure what a Tetris alcove or.
Oh, sure.
Maybe you could, I did find, the alcove and the concept of what the alcove is and so forth, but I couldn't find anything that added the word Tetris to it. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it stacks it somehow or.
Right, exactly. That's a unit plan we developed 4 or 5 years ago that allows an efficiency within different unit types and how they allocate on the exterior cladding. So we have a way that we can divide the walls between units in a staggered pattern. So it looks like 2 Tetris pieces coming together. So that bulk of 2 units, one is an alcove that only has, roughly 16 feet of exterior wall. And the adjacent unit is a full 1-bedroom that has, the bedroom has a window and then living space does as well. So that's just a term that we use to identify that grouping of a design set.
So then like I think the studio was maybe the smallest at about 500 square feet.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
But what were you thinking estimating? I don't know if you're
Yep.
on a monthly rent on that or.
For the rent? Yeah, absolutely. So our goal since we started at Yellow Tree is to provide entry point market rate housing. That's why we have a broad unit mix, studios, alcoves, 1-bedroom den, 2 bedrooms, and then a stack of 3 bedrooms as well. So the studios would likely start the high $1,200s, $1,280. 1-bedrooms, the 1-bedroom alcove unit, so it has a bedroom but not an exterior window. High $1,300 is probably where they'll average out. 1-bedrooms will range from $1,400 all the way up to $1,900 if they have a den, that sort of thing. So, we do look at the area median income and kind of consider where those fall as far as kind of a rental segment, and that does provide, I believe, the majority, if not almost all of our units being at 80% AMI or below, and a majority of our 1-bedrooms at 60% AMI just naturally without.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Good, thanks.
All right, yeah, Councilmember Olson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming out in the snow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a bear.
I'm sure that was fun.
Yeah.
Two things that I'm curious about, and I know that you mentioned it when we originally workshopped, but I just am going to ask it because we're a little further down the road. What is your plan for maintenance of the facility?
Yep, so we are a fully integrated company, so I head up the design, my original business partner heads up property management, and we have in-house construction. So we build and manage and own all of our properties, and we have a full staff, property management, leasing, there'll be an assigned maintenance person, and then we also have roving maintenance, if any additional work orders might be needed for the building.
Is your maintenance person on site?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so they'll be required to be on site. Every day, they may be called away, or we may provide an additional person for filter changes or some other type of maintenance. But this is a fully staffed building, so there will be someone at the front door, someone available to take leases, and then the maintenance certainly.
Okay. And I know you've been working on a project in Inver Grove, Crystal as well, I think, right?
Yes, yep.
When you're built out and you anticipate, 90% or whatever it is of capacity for your rental units, do you have an idea of the number of residents that would represent? So for example, you got a mix of, you have a mix of units.
Yep.
And I'm sure some are going to be one person, some are going to be two, three. So based on some of the statistics from your other units and just your experience, do you have a ballpark idea?
We do, absolutely. I don't have it for this building based upon the unit types, but I know studios is almost certainly always a one person.
Right.
Very rarely do we have more than one person in one of our studios, and that's true for alcoves. One bedrooms, I would put it under 1.5 persons per unit. One bedroom dens might be a little bit more. Two bedrooms are almost always two. It's a roommate situation for the most time. We do have some families, certainly in Farmington. We anticipate them in Inver Grove, and I think that's going to be consistent here. I doubt that that's going to get over 3 persons per 2-bedroom, maybe 4. So
I appreciate that. And the reason I asked the question is earlier, as you saw in the presentation, there was some conversation about pedestrians, primarily some of our elderly who live in the adjacent units, and what that might look like in terms of, where they can cross the road and all those kinds of things. And obviously, having another developer, putting an apartment building in there is going to add some additional pressure to that. And then further, being market rate, I would guess that you probably have more of your renters who actually have a vehicle versus some of the more affordable that we have in town as well. So just trying to kind of get a feel for, okay, it's a pretty tight little area there on East Point Douglas with all those apartments in there. And are people going to be able to get in, get out, be safe, especially if they're not moving as fast as maybe they did 20, 30 years ago? So that's helpful information. Thank you.
yep.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, as I mentioned, Council, I believe there is 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 5 resolutions before us. And I guess at this point, I'd look for Council to start with, number 2 on the screen.
I will move to adopt Resolution 2026-032, approving the sale of Outlet B, Fredaloni's South Point Ridge to East Point Apartments LLC, and the purchase agreement for Outlet B, Fredaloni's South Point Ridge with East Point Apartments LLC.
Second.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Garza, second by Councilmember Thiede. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Who would like to do number 3?
I'll do number 3.
Okay.
Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 2026-030, approving the preliminary plat and final plat for Everwood 6th Edition.
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Clausen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Garza. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Who would like to do number 4?
Mayor, I'll move that we adopt Resolution 2026-031, approving the planned unit development and site plan review for a 186-unit, 6-story multifamily apartment building located on East Point Douglas Road South.
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Olson. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Clausen. Again, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5?
I'll move to approve the Stormwater Management Facilities Agreement, Encroachment Agreement, and Permanent Trail Access Agreement.
All right, so I have a motion by Councilmember Thiede. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Garza. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then number 6.
I will move to adopt Resolution 2026-028, approving the tax abatement agreement between the city and East Point Apartments LLC.
All right, so I have a motion by
second that.
Councilmember Garza, second by Councilmember Thiede. Last time, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. There you go. Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome to Cottage Grove.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how it looks over there once, it's hard to visualize it a little bit. I mean, your pictures do a good job of it, but it's going to be interesting to see how it looks there.
I
So,
just really want to make sure that they keep in mind all of the pedestrians that will be walking along that road and crossing there. So that is really, really important. There's a lot of kids down there, so.
I agree
please.
100%.
yeah, and I will
It's a
just
big-
share,
Big one.
yeah, I will just share with the council, if you're not aware of this or not, but a week from tomorrow, I will be actually going to the Legends with, I believe, you guys, along with our staff, to meet with some of the residents over there to, share with them the process and all that, any concerns that they might have, so they get to hear that too, so we can make sure that they feel comfortable. I know there's a lot happening in their area over there between the Roars and now this project, so,
The kids are busy over there.
Yeah,
They
they are.
love to run around in that area, so.
sounds good. Thank you all for that. All right, next we're moving on to 10. Bid awards aren't in this evening. 11 is regular agenda. There's nothing this evening. We're now to council comments and requests, so I will start with Councilmember Clausen.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to add tonight.
Nothing for you? Okay, sounds good. How about Councilmember Olson?
Thank you, Mayor. Earlier this evening, Councilmember Clausen read a proclamation about the Lunar New Year. Thank you for doing that, by the way. I wanted to just mention, it's been a pretty busy week between that. We also saw the start of Ramadan for our Muslim friends on 2/17. And then, of course, today is Ash Wednesday, so Lent is right around the corner as well. I'm grateful that, we were able to recognize Lunar New Year because when we were growing up, we always called it, I think it was Chinese New Year, and since that time has expanded to include all of the Asian countries that celebrate in that area, like Korea, Vietnam, Brunei, et cetera. So it's important that everybody who lives here in the city of Cottage Grove understands that you're welcome here. We very much appreciate the fact that you've chosen Cottage Grove as the place to settle and hopefully raise a family and do all of those things. And whether it's Ramadan or Lunar New Year or Ash Wednesday, we wish all of you the very best for these holy days. And then lastly, Mayor, I wanted to just mention when I received a memo via email the other day from our new economic development manager, one of the things that he referenced in the memo was the Maxfield study. The Maxfield study, for those who may not know, is a study that the city commissioned to look at housing and in particular apartments. And Maxfield gave us sort of a target that we should try to hit based on the data that they had at the time in order to ensure that we have a variety of housing stock available for people who either currently live in town and are looking to live someplace different, whether that's a step up or a step down, and/or people who want to move to town. So I'm just curious if staff might consider kind of updating us now that we've approved Yellow Tree. We've got Roars and some others that, we've also approved recently. Be curious to note where we're at versus the target. For example, if the Maxfield study said, hey, you need 1,000 additional units, what have we done since that time? And how close are we, or how far away are we from that goal? And with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you.
Fantastic, thank you. Councilmember Thiede?
All right, so coming in here outside, you might not be thinking about it, but Strawberry Fest is only 120 days away. And it'll be warm and sunny, and it'll be beautiful weather for Strawberry Fest. So mark that on your calendar for June 18th. And I don't know, I might be stealing a little bit of the mayor's thunder here, but we've got, talking about Ash Wednesday and so forth, the fish fry is starting at River Oaks on Friday night, and I know the mayor's going to be there, I'm going to be there for the first
Councilmember
night.
Olson's going to be there too, I believe.
Oh, there you go, okay. So, and I think, keep in mind that reservations do need to be made, because they fill the place up pretty quick. So, and the expanded menu this year actually looks really good too. So, look up River Oaks, and fish fry is a great thing to take in. So, I think that's all I got. Just be careful.
Don't forget the dessert.
Oh, the dessert, yeah. There's salted caramel cheesecake that we've actually been able to sample in the past. It's really, really
Yeah,
good.
it is good. And chocolate cake. which
And the
is my
chocolate
favorite.
cake, well, I like the cheesecake better, but yeah, the good chocolate cake too. So otherwise, just be careful going home tonight because it's fairly slippery and actually probably one of the worst snowstorms I think we've had this year so far, isn't it? I don't know.
Maybe.
Brian?
We forget them.
Close? Yeah.
Ryan doesn't have much hair left on the top of his head, so I think that tells you how this winter has been. All done?
All done.
Okay, Councilmember Garza.
Sure. Well, I will share the last event that we have on here from our Parks and Rec group. They are doing, the Parks and Rec Department, they're having an event called Grow and Glow. Sounds like a lot of fun, actually. It's a mindfulness and friendship event. It's on March 6th from 10 to 11:30 at the Glacier Valley Park. And it looks like participants will enjoy yoga, face masks, succulent planting, and fun fizzy drinks. Sounds fun to me. Space is limited, so you can register online with our Parks and Rec Department. Back to you, Mayor.
Fantastic, thank you. The only other thing I was just going to bring up, since I think we covered most of the other topics, and Councilmember Olson mentioned it briefly, I've been honored, I'll say that sincerely, the Tibetan community has actually invited me to be a guest speaker at their event tomorrow up in Isanti. And so part of the proclamation is kind of great timing because I'm going to be able to read our proclamation up there. But they were pretty excited to have me come as kind of their guest speaker and such up there. So I'll be able to kind of immerse myself in their culture, which is going to be pretty awesome. So I was very honored to be invited up to that event. So I'll just mention that, and I'll report back to council and staff kind of how that all panned out. And then the other last thing I'll just say, and I had I'll say the opportunity as our communications managers here I got to do the last official taping of the Mayor's Moment at the True Lens facility here in Cottage Grove. For those that may not be aware, they're actually moving from their current facility in Cottage Grove to a larger facility that's going to be in the Central Park, I guess is what you'd call it, in Woodbury, which is maybe sad for us because it's not going to be in Cottage Grove, but they're going to have a lot more space, and it's good for them from a growth standpoint. And though I can't publicly say it, but we did hear a certain business, I'm looking at out in the audience at Phil Gents, that we heard from them that they've already had somebody else that's interested in that spot. And let's just say if it's true and they come in, we're all going to love it because it does involve food, which I think we all love. So,
Is it finally White Castle time? Is that-
no, I wish
Oh,
it
no?
wasn't White
Okay.
Castle. I'd be okay. I'd
Just-
be okay with
just
that, I'm
checking.
being honest with you.
don't think White Castle fit in that.
Yeah.
No, I don't
You know,
think so.
Corey does business in West St. Paul. She could bring us some at some point, maybe.
That is true.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Slider deliveries.
Yeah.
So with that, that was it for me for this evening. Workshop, we have none open to the public, which is 13, 14 is workshop closed to the public. We have none this evening. Council, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Garza, second by Councilmember Thiede. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, opposed? We are adjourned.